Imagine waking up in Lisbon. Early morning, the first day of November, 1755. The city is already awake. You step outside. The air is warm, calm, almost motionless. The sky is clear. A light haze hangs above the river. From all directions, church bells are ringing, not in alarm, in celebration. Today is All Saints' Day. People are walking toward the churches, slowly, calmly, dressed in their best clothes. Some hold children by the hand. Some stop to talk outside a shop. No one is in a hurry. At this moment, Lisbon is one of the richest cities in Europe. Gold, spices, fabrics, and goods from distant colonies pass through its port. On the hills stand the palaces of the nobility. Below them, the homes of merchants and artisans. Narrow streets descend toward the waterfront where ships wait, ready to be unloaded. The city lives a familiar, confident life. Here, people think about the future. Here, no one expects disaster. You enter a church. Inside, it is crowded. People stand shoulder to shoulder. Hundreds of candles are burning. Stone vaults echo the voices. Prayers sound louder than usual. Heavy walls, thick columns. It feels safe here, as if this place could stand forever. At this hour, almost the entire city is under a roof, inside old, massive stone buildings. Seen from the outside, Lisbon looks stable and immovable. It stands on its hills, faces the river, bound to the sea. You stand among the others and pray. And then, something changes. At first, it is hard to call it a tremor. More like a strange sensation, as if the floor beneath your feet has softened, as if the stone shifted. The candles on the altar tremble slightly. Somewhere deep inside the building, a dull sound echoes like distant thunder. A moment passes. Everything stops. You exhale. You think it is over. You do not even realize this was only the beginning. A few moments later, the ground begins to move again. This time, stronger. The floor sways. You instinctively grab a column. People glance at one another. Someone whispers. Someone falls silent mid-prayer. Then the jolt becomes violent. You lose your balance. Candles fall, one after another. Fire immediately catches on fabric, on wooden benches. Dust pours from the ceiling. Thin cracks race along the walls. Someone screams. Within seconds, the floor begins to roll like waves. Standing becomes nearly impossible. People fall, grab at one another, struggle toward the exits. You hear the roar of stone. The columns groan. The sanctuary that seemed eternal begins to collapse before your eyes. Fire all around, and beneath your feet, ground that can no longer be trusted. You try to move toward the exit. It is difficult. The crowd is dense. People cling to one another, fall, rise again. The floor jerks violently, as if something below is pushing the building upward. Every step takes effort. Finally, the doors open. Light and dust rush in. You step outside and immediately understand what is happening inside is not an exception. It is happening everywhere. The narrow street you walked along that morning is unrecognizable. The stones beneath your feet have split apart. Cracks run between them. The walls of houses tremble as if alive. Nearby, a balcony collapses with a crash. Wood snaps with a dry crack. Stone slams into stone. People pour out of buildings. Many carry children in their arms. The ground jerks again, stronger than before. You barely stay upright. At that moment, the facade of the house across the street collapses. Stones crash downward, raising a cloud of dust. A scream cuts off mid-sentence. The city that seemed immovable only an hour ago is now moving as a whole. No one explains what to do. People run wherever it seems more open, but the narrow streets turn into traps. You watch a crack race up a wall, climb higher, and in the next second, part of the building simply collapses. The dust in the air grows so thick it becomes hard to breathe. Your eyes burn. Your mouth fills with the taste of stone. Somewhere, a fire breaks out. At first small, then larger. Overturned candles in homes and churches. Fires from hearths. Collapsed kitchens. Everything ignites almost at once. Wooden beams, stalls, doors. The fire finds fuel everywhere. You feel the heat. It does not come from one place. It surrounds you. The wind is weak, but enough for the flames to leap from house to house. Now, danger is everywhere, above you, beneath you, all around you. Instinct pulls you toward open space, toward the river. You move with the flow of people. Some are wounded. Some walk in silence, leaning against walls. Behind you, crackling, crashing, fire.
You reach the waterfront. Here there is more space. The air feels cleaner. Before you lies the Tagus, wide, calm, almost still. Ships rest along the shore. Some are tilted, but they seem intact. The water is smooth, as if nothing has happened. People stop here. After the roar and the flames, the silence feels like relief. A few minutes pass. Then you notice something strange. The waterline is changing. Very slowly, almost imperceptibly. The river is retreating. At first, only a few steps, then more. Ships begin to tilt. Ropes slacken. The riverbed, usually hidden, emerges. People exchange glances. It seems as if the river has simply left. The survivors believe the danger is over. There are no fires here, no collapsing walls. Here, you can stand. You stand at the edge and look at the exposed riverbed, covered in seaweed, debris, stranded fish. At this moment, you do not yet know this is not a retreat. You lift your gaze and notice that the surface of the water in the distance looks different. It is no longer smooth. It is rising. Far upriver, something is moving toward the city. Slowly, broadly, silently. You stare at the river. At first, you cannot understand what has changed. Then, within seconds, it becomes clear. The waterline in the distance is growing. Ships farther along the river begin to rock violently. Some are turned sideways. You see masts tilt and then disappear behind a gray wall of water. People begin to step backward. They run, slip on wet stone, fall. The wounded cannot rise in time. Cries fill the air. At first, they are not yet panic. For a few seconds, no one understands where to run. Behind you, narrow streets, fire, collapsing buildings. Ahead, water. Then the wave reaches the waterfront. You see water leap over the stone edge as if it does not exist. Ships are torn from their moorings. One is spun and hurled directly into the houses along the shore. People are knocked down instantly. You see them carried away with planks, crates, debris. The water is dark, filthy, mixed with ash and smoke. The wave surges into the streets. Where you walked in the morning, there is now a current. It slams into walls, floods homes, rips doors from hinges, shatters windows. The fires that were still burning are extinguished. Steam rises. You try to hold on, but the current pulls sideways. You grab a piece of a broken wall. Your hands slip. When it feels like the water is receding, another wave arrives. It destroys what is still standing. What survived the earthquake and escaped the fire breaks now. After some time, the water withdraws. It retreats as suddenly as it came, leaving behind mud, debris, and wreckage. You stand among the ruins. Houses are destroyed. Belongings lie scattered. Furniture, crates, clothing. Between the stones lie bodies. The air is heavy. It smells of smoke, wet wood, and ash. The streets are flooded with murky water. In some places, ankle deep. In others, knee deep. No one knows what to do next. Lisbon is silent. What happened did not last a minute or two. The earthquake continued for several minutes. Shock followed shock. Fires broke out almost immediately and burned for hours. The waves came later, when people already believed they had survived. Within a few hours, Lisbon endured 3 catastrophes in succession. Buildings that survived the earthquake burned. What did not burn was swept away by water. What remained standing was damaged beyond use. The city that had been wealthy and bustling in the morning had ceased to be a city by evening. The exact number of victims is unknown. Sources speak of tens of thousands. Many vanished without a trace, taken by fire or water. Many remained forever beneath the stone. Communication is destroyed. Authority is paralyzed. No organized aid arrives. Lisbon was not prepared for this. No city in Europe was. Gradually, it becomes clear, this is not temporary damage. Living here is impossible. There is little water, almost no food, not enough shelter. Lisbon cannot continue its former life. It can only try to survive. Lisbon did not disappear forever. In the first days, the city was almost empty. People left, inland, or to coastal villages. Many were afraid to return, but over time, life began to come back. At first, cautiously, in small groups. People returned to search for relatives, belongings, what little remained of their homes. Then, to stay. A decision was made quickly. The city would be rebuilt. Not as it was. The ruined Lisbon was not restored. It was redesigned. Streets were made straighter, buildings lower and stronger. Structures were planned to withstand earthquakes. Order replaced chaos. It was one of the first times in history a city was rebuilt with catastrophe in mind, not simply layered over its ruins. People returned not because they forgot what happened, but because they learned to live with that knowledge.